Sponsored by Squarespace. Like a Dragon, formerly known as Twitter, is a long-running action game series. Officially, the series is about Kiryu, a former Yakuza, being wrapped up in the Yakuza power struggle. In practice, however, the series is a minigame collection with a side of soap opera. To fans, the contrast between the goofy-ass side content and the ultra-dramatic crime story is the true appeal, but the contrast extends way beyond that. It is unabashedly horny and objectifying, but also supportive of women's rights. It frequently invokes xenophobic stereotypes, yet is surprisingly pro-immigration. It has an abundance of gay jokes, but is also open-minded about LGBT people. And of course, it depicts the Yakuza as slimy bastards, but also honorable anti-heroes. What an odd series, right? I'm sure you already figured this out, but indeed, this seeming contradiction is merely a reflection of the Yakuza film genre. With the new Like a Dragon TV series coming out and looking kinda meh, this is the perfect time to dive into this topic. Let's take a brief look at the history of Yakuza cinema and see how it shaped the video game series Like a Dragon. Broadly speaking, Yakuza cinema comes in two major subgenres: chivalry films, tales of heroic outlaws usually set in feudal Japan, and record films, movies with a true crime aesthetic and paints the Yakuza as ruthless criminals. You see where I'm going with this, right? In Japanese folk tradition and kabuki theater, the Yakuza is often depicted as folk heroes. Naturally, in the early days of cinema, Yakuza films continued this narrative. A Diary of Chuji's Travels, a 1927 silent film, features a kind-hearted Yakuza boss protecting children and women while on the run. Set in the Edo period with a samurai film visual, its folk legend aesthetic is evident. This template of a lonely hero in a life of crime is the foundation of the chivalry subgenre. Basically, John Yakuza didn't choose the thug life. Came the 1960s, the subgenre saw an explosive growth in popularity. Major studios at the time were looking for a new twist in the popular samurai genre. Exchanging samurai with Yakuza was the answer. And so, we have films like Jinsei Gekyo, Japanese Yakuza, and Gambler. All of these films would launch their successful series. My recommendation, though, would be the 1968 film The Valiant Red Peony. In a sea of Yakuza heroes, this film stands out with a female Yakuza protagonist who packs heat. Damn! When her father, the head of a Yakuza clan, was assassinated, our heroine leaves her clan to seek revenge. On her lonely journey, she finds companionship in a fellow Yakuza. However, unbeknown to her, his identity would put her in her most difficult predicament. With beautiful slow-mo fights, sets, and cinematography, this is a true classic. But for the purpose of this video, it is also a glimpse into Kiryu's character origin. This archetype of an honorable hero, quitting his clan, fighting for his family, and is cursed to be a loner, came straight from chivalry films. Kiryu's romantic encounter in Yakuza 2 mirrors the romance in Valiant Red Peony very closely, but retold from the man's perspective. Came the 1970s though, things swung to the other end. You see, the Yakuza didn't take its modern form until the post-war era, when Japan was in disarray, resulting in a massive Yakuza-controlled black market. All of a sudden, the syndicate of folk legends become part of people's day-to-day life, and thus the record film subgenre was born. Battle Without Honor and Humanity is often regarded as the definitive film within this category. Inspired by news articles and real-life accounts, this ultra-violent flick depicts the Yakuza as unsympathetic criminals. The story centers around a group of soldiers who, following the end of World War II, grows disillusioned and joins the Yakuza. In this corrupted world of crime, people kill for power, for revenge, and sometimes for no good reason at all. Through its documentary-like realism, the characters are no longer larger-than-life heroes. They act like spoiled kids with guns, resorting to violence at the slightest provocation. It is truly, as the title suggests, there is no honor and no humanity. This less romanticized depiction is shared by practically all films in this subgenre. Now, with this context in mind, we can start seeing the Like a Dragon games in a new light. If you run a totally legit business that does not involve scams, intimidations, briberies, and other forms of shenanigans, then you are going to need a website from Squarespace. Speaking as a customer, it is so disappointing when I try to Google a business only to find a Facebook page and nothing else. Not only is the site barely functional, but the messy layout is also hard to navigate. One look at this and I want to turn around and leave. On the other hand, a dedicated website is a lot more welcoming. It can be customized to your needs. This professionalism boosts consumer confidence. To start a website, pick a template and edit accordingly. The editing process is intuitive. Boosting your business value has never been simpler. Start your free trial at squarespace.com/accencinema. You can test out the process before you commit. No credit card information is needed. Once you're ready, use the code ACCENTCINEMA and you can get 10% off your first purchase. So, if you are a totally legit business owner, why not build a website yourself? Visit squarespace.com/accencinema and get started today. And now, let's talk about Like a Dragon.
もしもし。
A common plot point within the game's epic saga is the clash between the Old Guard and the New Blood. This conflict reflects the differences between the romanticized depiction of the 1960s and the realistic crime films of the 1970s. For example, Kazama Shintaro, the father figure of the series protagonist and the patriarch of his crime family, is the classic chivalry type. This man does not kill unless it's necessary. He runs an orphanage and funds a street clinic, doing everything he can to help the community. Like a true cinematic cliché, he even beats up his rebellious adopted sons for wanting to join the Yakuza. He is a hero straight from the silent film era. In Yakuza 0, Kazama is secretly being ousted by his younger subordinates. Kuze, the oldest lieutenant, is comparatively more ruthless, but still abide by the Yakuza code. He speaks in an old-timey manner and respects the people who display the Yakuza virtue. Kuze is not quite a folk hero, but certainly a character from chivalry films. Awano, the younger lieutenant, is driven by his own pleasure and kills without remorse. The way he rolls his R in his speech is a common shorthand to indicate someone as a hooligan type. Just like the record film Yakuza, he is a spoiled brat with too much power. This gradient matches the history of Yakuza depictions in films. This conflict of classic and new extends to Kiryu and Majima, the protagonist and a secondary antagonist, though this conflict lasted only one game. New fans may not remember, but once upon a time, Majima was just a crazy mofo who fights and kills for the fun of it. This is contrasted against Kiryu, who's famous for never killing anyone. He even takes the fall for a brother and spends 10 years in the joint. Classic good guy move. This explains why Kiryu's face resembles a kabuki mask. Following Kazama, he is also a classic folk hero in a modern gangster world. Fans of the games may even notice that Kiryu and Nishikiyama also share this contrast. But do they? Besides, what about Shibusawa? You know, the third and youngest lieutenant who tries to overthrow Kazama. To talk about Shibusawa and also Nishikiyama, we'll have to go to the 80s and check out the third Yakuza subgenre. From the 1980s onward, Yakuza cinema saw a dramatic decline in popularity. With theatrical releases no longer financially viable, the genre migrated to a new medium: home media. Welcome to the stinker period of Yakuza cinema. Compared to the grand scope of the past, these home releases, to put it bluntly, are real ass. The low-budget production often results in goofy and over-the-top plots and action. The films are also extremely serialized, with the Jingi series having something like 52 entries if not more. And yes, this is the same actor who plays Alvano. With the wake of Japan's economic rise, money became the new king in town. As a result, a new Yakuza subgenre emerged, the business Yakuza. Instead of fighting for revenge or family, this new breed of Yakuza fights for business and ridiculously large sums of money. The King of Minami is one notable series. Yes, it's him again, and this series has like 60 entries. The story centers around a loan shark who's both known for his cruelty in debt collecting and compassion in helping those in need. He simultaneously embodies the virtue of a folk hero and the menace of a gangster. It is a familiar duality to Like a Dragon fans. Our heroes have the same kind of compassion for the most vulnerable people in society, such as the homeless and the immigrants. Other films like Getting Blue in Color are also similarly business-centric, featuring a banker in the lead. It may be argued that the video film era left the most impact on Like a Dragon. Much like these films, Like a Dragon is also very serialized with the same kind of cheesy plots about the same type of business conspiracies. Shibusawa, the third lieutenant, represents this subgenre. He talks and acts like a businessman, making him cold and calculated and thus the most dangerous one of the three. Likewise, Nishikiyama and the 10 billion yen MacGuffin also came straight out of this subgenre. While Yakuza film is still alive and kicking in home media, with time, things naturally change and expand. FM 89.3 is, as weird as it sounds, a Yakuza comedy about a gangster boss becoming a radio DJ. And yes, that is Kuze. As you can see, with such vast history and varied styles, it's no wonder why it influenced Like a Dragon into this self-conflicting series. But with that, we have dived way too deep into this topic, so let's call it here. Since the 90s, the Japanese government had taken steps to crack down on organized crime. The mystic aura of Yakuza faded in the following decades. Demand for serious Yakuza films is lower than ever. Some filmmakers like Takeshi Miike and Takeshi Kitano still make Yakuza-related films to this day. Their movies are beasts of their own, which I'll have to tackle some other time. These days, if a Japanese filmgoer wants to see a gangster flick, they'll probably pick one from South Korea. It's safe to say that Yakuza cinema has gone the way of the Westerns. That is to say, it has found new life in a new medium. Its zaniness, the bombastic story, the camaraderie, every element can be traced to a rich cinematic history. This is not just a silly video game series, it's a legacy.